A cocky boxer tells the old martial arts teacher, "I'll knock you out in round one," after barging into his community center and terrorizing children. The undefeated champion mocks the elderly instructors, dancing, deliberately destroys equipment, and issues a brutal public challenge that could destroy everything the old man has built. But what the arrogant fighter doesn't realize is that this humble community teacher is actually Jackie Chan himself. The boxer has just threatened a living legend who spent decades perfecting the art of making bullies look like fools on the biggest stages in the world. As the cameras roll and the challenge is accepted, the champions team discovers they've signed contracts to face one of cinema's greatest action heroes in a real fight. The old master steps into the ring wearing shorts with Chan across the back, and suddenly the crowd erupts in recognition. The boxer's confident smirk begins to fade as he realizes he's about to learn why some legends never retire. What happens when raw arrogance meets refined skill? Can the champion survive 3 rounds against a master who turned fighting into art? What happened next would shatter the bully's ego for the rest of his pathetic career. Before we jump back and tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The private jet touched down at San Francisco International Airport with a thud that barely registered to the man sprawling across the leather seats inside. Tommy "Lightning" Rodriguez emerged into the foggy Tuesday afternoon wearing a $5,000 suit that caught the weak sunlight like armor, gold chains gleaming against his chest. He checked his diamond-encrusted watch and scowled. 2 minutes late, he snapped at the uniformed driver waiting beside the black limousine. "You think champions wait around for nobodies?" The driver apologized quickly, but Tommy had already moved on, sliding into the back seat where his promoter, Vince Castellano, waited with a cloud of cigar smoke and that calculating smile that meant money was about to change hands. 23-0, baby. Vince's gold teeth flashed as he clapped Tommy on the shoulder. Undefeated, undisputed, and about to get a whole lot richer. This city tour's gonna set up the biggest payday of your career. Tommy grinned, watching San Francisco's hills roll past the tinted windows. The city looked tired to him, full of has-beens and wannabes clutching at past glory. "What's the schedule, Vince? Please tell me we're not wasting time with more charity photo ops." "Actually, that's exactly what we're doing." Vince pulled out a tablet showing Tommy's upcoming appearances. Community outreach in Chinatown, some ethnic neighborhoods. The political endorsement deal needs you looking like a man of the people. "Great," Tommy muttered, flexing his hands. Each fist had ended 20 careers, and he'd never met a problem that couldn't be solved with the right combination of speed and power. "Just remember, I don't do fake humble. I am what I am." Big Eddie Murphy, his trainer, nodded enthusiastically from the front seat. "That's right, champ. You earned everything you got." The limousine pulled through narrow streets lined with red lanterns and shop signs in languages Tommy couldn't read. He wrinkled his nose at the smell of unfamiliar spices and cooking oil drifting through the air vents. "Anybody here even speak English?" he asked loudly as they stopped outside the Dragon Garden restaurant that a small crowd of local media waited. On the sidewalk, cameras ready. Tommy stepped out, immediately complaining about the neighborhood's stench while reporters scrambled to catch his every word. Across the street, the faded sign of the Jade Dragon Community Center hung quietly in the afternoon shadows. Inside the Jade Dragon Community Center, 15 children sat in perfect silence, their small hands resting on their knees as they breathed in unison. Uncle Charlie moved among them like morning mist, his voice barely above a whisper as he guided their meditation. "Feel the air enter your body," he said softly. "Let it carry away anger, fear, worry. A warrior's greatest strength comes from inner peace." 10-year-old Kevin Wong peeked one eye open, watching his teacher with obvious adoration. Beside him, 12-year-old Ashley Martinez maintained perfect posture, her breathing steady and controlled. Little Danny Park, only 6 years old, struggled to keep still but tried his best to mirror the older children. Charlie smiled at their efforts. The community center showed its age in the worn wooden floors and faded paint, but love filled every corner. Photographs of local families covered one wall. Children's artwork decorated another. And in the far corner sat a small memorial table with fresh flowers beside a photo of a smiling woman with kind eyes. Uncle Charlie, Kevin whispered. Why do we always start with sitting still? When do we learn the fighting moves? Ah, Kevin. Charlie settled into a cross-legged position facing his students. What good is a sword without a wise hand to guide it? A true warrior fights only to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Everything else is just showing off. He demonstrated a simple defensive technique, his movements flowing like water around an invisible opponent. The children watched in fascination as he seemed to dance with the air itself, each gesture purposeful yet graceful. To them, he was simply Uncle Charlie, their patient teacher who emphasized character over combat, but his fluid motions hinted at depths they couldn't yet understand. Remember, Charlie continued, straightening their postures with gentle touches. Strength without wisdom destroys everything it touches. Wisdom without strength cannot protect what matters most. We seek the balance between them. Ashley raised her hand. My dad says some people only understand violence. What do we do then? Charlie's expression grew thoughtful. Sometimes we must stand firm against those who would harm others. But even then, we use only what force is necessary, and we never let anger guide our actions. Through the window, raised. Voices drifted across from the restaurant where cameras flashed and a crowd gathered around someone making loud, crude gestures. Charlie glanced briefly at the commotion, then turned back to his students, dismissing them for their break with instructions to practice their breathing exercises. Tommy posed for the photographers outside Dragon Garden restaurant, throwing exaggerated punches at the air while making jokes about chop sake movies that sent his entourage into fits of laughter. A local reporter, desperate for a better story angle, pointed across the street. That community center offers free martial arts classes for kids, she suggested. Might make a great photo opportunity, showing you supporting local youth programs. Vince's eyes lit up immediately. Brilliant. Nothing says man of the people like the champ inspiring the next generation. He stubbed out his cigar and gestured toward the faded building. Let's go spread some champion magic. They burst through the community center doors like a hurricane, their voices echoing off the walls as Tommy continued his performance for the trailing cameras. The training space seemed impossibly small compared to the gleaming gyms Tommy was used to, filled with simple equipment that looked decades old. What is this, a museum? Tommy laughed, shadowboxing aggressively while his crew filmed everything. You teaching these kids to dance or fight? Uncle Charlie emerged from the equipment room, moving with quiet dignity as he approached the unexpected visitors. His simple polo shirt and khaki pants made him seem almost invisible beside Tommy's flashy presence. But something in his posture suggested he was accustomed to commanding attention when necessary. Welcome to our center, Charlie said politely, his voice calm and measured. I am Charlie Chan. Perhaps you could wait until after the children's class ends? It finishes at 5 o'clock. Tommy's laughter grew louder. Charlie Chan? Like the old detective movies? That's perfect. He turned to his cameras. Look at this, folks. Just another old guy playing dress-up, teaching kids to wave their hands around. The children watched nervously through the interior window as Tommy continued his mockery, their eyes wide with concern for their beloved teacher. Charlie maintained his composure, but his jaw set slightly as he registered their fear. I teach them to be good people. First, Charlie replied steadily. The rest follows naturally. Good people. Tommy scoffed, deliberately stepping closer to invade Charlie's personal space. In the real world, old man, good people get walked over by people like me. These kids need to learn that strength is all that matters, and I've got more strength in my left hand than you've got in your whole body. The tension in the room thickened as Tommy's crew encouraged his increasingly aggressive behavior, their cameras capturing every moment of what they assumed would be another easy intimidation. Of a local nobody, Tommy's performance escalated as he fed off his crew's laughter and the rolling cameras. He deliberately knocked over a carefully arranged display of wooden training weapons, sending them clattering across the floor in a cascade of noise that made the children gasp from the doorway. Oops, Tommy said with mock concern, making no move to help as Charlie quietly began picking up the scattered equipment. Guess your kung fu couldn't protect your toys? Huh, old man. Charlie's movements remained controlled and patient as he gathered each piece, his face showing no anger despite the deliberate provocation. The children started to emerge from the side room, but he motioned gently for them to stay back, his protective instincts fully engaged. "Perhaps you should leave now," Charlie said, his voice still calm but carrying a new edge of steel. "The children don't need to see this behavior. Children need to see reality." Tommy stepped on one of the practice mats with his expensive Italian leather shoes, grinding his heel into the fabric. They need to learn that all this ancient mystical nonsense is useless against real power. To demonstrate his point, Tommy stalked toward the heavy bag hanging in the corner. His first punch sent it swaying violently, the sound echoing like a gunshot. Big Eddie cheered from the sidelines while Vince filmed with his phone. Already imagining the social media buzz, Tommy unleashed a combination that would have finished most professional fighters. Left hook, right cross, uppercut, each blow landing with devastating precision. The heavy bag's leather began to split under the assault, sand spilling onto the floor in growing puddles. "This is what real power looks like, old man," Tommy shouted over the noise of his continued assault. "You and your dancing wouldn't last. 10 seconds with me." The children huddled together now, little Danny Park hiding behind Ashley Martinez as Tommy's violence filled their safe space with menace. Charlie's demeanor shifted subtly, his relaxed posture becoming something more alert and ready, though he still radiated calm control. "Power without wisdom is just destruction," Charlie observed quietly, his eyes tracking Tommy's movements with the focus of someone who had spent decades studying combat. "Even a child knows this." Tommy finished destroying the heavy bag with one final haymaker that sent sand cascading across the floor. He turned toward the frightened children with predatory interest, stalking closer despite Charlie's warning presence. "Let's see if any of these little warriors think they're tough enough to face a real fighter," Tommy sneered, his shadow falling across the children as Charlie stepped protectively between them. Tommy loomed over the frightened children, his fists still clenched from destroying the heavy bag. Charlie stood between them like an immovable wall, his posture shifting into something that made the air itself seem to vibrate with potential energy. "You think you can stop me, old karate teacher?" Tommy demanded, stepping closer until he was chest to chest with Charlie. Before Charlie could respond, a local TV news crew burst through the doors, their camera operator immediately focusing on the confrontation. The reporter had been covering Tommy's restaurant visit when someone mentioned the commotion across the street. Vince's eyes gleamed as he recognized the opportunity. "Perfect timing," he whispered, quickly coaching Tommy to play up his champion persona. "Work the cameras, baby." With the red recording light glowing, Tommy's aggression transformed into calculated performance. He spread his arms wide, addressing the camera with practiced charm while maintaining his threatening presence. "Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at what happens when old traditions meet modern reality," Tommy announced. "This elderly gentleman thinks his ancient dancing can compete with championship boxing." The reporter thrust her microphone forward, sensing a story. "Are you challenging this man to a fight?" "Not just challenging," Tommy grinned, his gold teeth catching the camera lights. "I'm offering him a deal he can't refuse." He turned back to Charlie, speaking loud enough for the microphone to catch every word. "One exhibition match, 3 rounds, at your little fundraising gala next Saturday." The children gasped as Tommy outlined his terms with theatrical flair. "If this old man can survive even 1 round without getting knocked out, I'll donate $100,000 to his community center." His voice turned sinister. "But when he doesn't last 3 minutes, this place gets sold to my development partners for exactly $1. Charlie's face remained impassive, but his eyes flickered toward the memorial corner where his wife's photograph watched over everything they had built together. The news crew went live on social media, and within seconds, #David vs. Goliath began trending. "This center serves families who have nowhere else to go," Charlie said quietly, his words carrying absolute conviction. "I cannot let you destroy it." He extended his hand to Tommy, accepting the challenge that could sign his community's death warrant. The handshake lasted only seconds, but the crushing weight of what Charlie had agreed to settled over the community center like a storm cloud. As Tommy's crew departed in triumph, parents arriving for pickup witnessed the worried faces of children and volunteers who had seen everything unfold. Mrs. Wong, Kevin's grandmother, clutched her grandson protectively. "Charlie, that man will hurt you badly. You cannot fight someone so young and strong." Uncle Charlie's the best fighter in the world. Kevin protested, but his voice cracked with uncertainty. Mr. Martinez, Ashley's father, shook his head grimly. This isn't about fighting skill. That boxer outweighs you by 60 pounds, and he's 40 years younger. Why did you accept this suicide mission? Charlie looked around at the faces depending on him. Children who called this place home, elderly. Folks who found community here, families who had nowhere else to turn. The decision was already made, had been made the moment Tommy threatened what Linda had helped him build. Because some things are worth protecting, he said simply. Word spread through Chinatown faster than wildfire. By evening, local business owners arrived with offers of support. Mrs. Chun from the restaurant brought containers of soup and rice. Dr. Patricia Williams, the center's volunteer physician, insisted on complete medical examinations and training supervision. Charlie began preparing immediately, but his approach puzzled everyone watching. Instead of trying to bulk up or match Tommy's power, he focused on meditation and precision. At dawn, he practiced forms in Portsmouth Square, his movements blending multiple martial arts styles into something that seemed to flow like water and strike like lightning. The children helped however they could. Kevin held focus, mitts while Ashley timed his combinations. Little Danny Park fetched water and towels, his 6-year-old face serious with responsibility. Elderly community members shared stories of legendary fighters from their youth, offering wisdom alongside worried prayers. Each evening, Charlie ended his training the same way, sitting quietly before Linda's photograph, speaking to her in soft Cantonese about protecting their shared dream. The community center had become more than a building. It was a living memorial to their love and hope for future generations. Friday night, as well-wishers finally departed, Charlie remained alone in the silence, knowing that tomorrow would test everything he believed about strength, courage, and the power of fighting for something greater than yourself. Saturday morning sunlight streamed through the windows of Vince Castellano's suite at the Fairmont San Francisco as he laid out the final pieces of his elaborate scheme. Marcus Webb, a grizzled referee with 20 years of looking the other way, counted the $10,000 in cash with practiced efficiency. Just like we discussed, Vince said, lighting his first cigar of the day. Give the kid maximum leeway for any accidental contact. If the old man goes down, count real slow. Give Tommy time to finish the job properly. Webb pocketed the money without meeting Vince's eyes. What if someone notices I'm being generous with the rules? Nobody's going to notice anything because they'll be too busy watching a legend get destroyed. Vince opened a special case containing Tommy's modified gloves, the leather looking identical to regulation equipment except for the carefully sewn lead shot in the knuckle padding. These beauties will turn every punch into a potential murder weapon. Dr. Gerald Hoffman, a disgraced physician who specialized in creating convenient medical alibis, spread forged documents across the coffee table. According to these records, your Mr. Chan has a serious heart condition that makes boxing extremely dangerous for his health. When he gets seriously injured tonight, these papers surface and you're completely protected legally. The real mastermind entered as they finished their preparations. Richard Sterling, the developer who wanted the prime Chinatown real estate, reviewed contracts that would net them millions once the community center was demolished for luxury condos. Beautiful location, that corner lot, Sterling mused, studying building plans. Once we clear out the old-timers, we can pack in 3 times the residential units at 5 times the current rent. Tommy arrived at 10 o'clock, his confidence boosted by the knowledge that every advantage was stacked in his favor. Vince handed him the weighted gloves with ceremonial reverence. Put these on right before the fight, Vince instructed. Make sure the ref's not looking when you switch them out. Tommy shadowboxed with the modified equipment, marveling at how the extra weight made his punches feel like sledgehammers. Each combination sent shock waves through his entire body, promising devastation for anything they connected with. This is going to be the most one-sided massacre in boxing history. Tommy grinned, imagining the viral videos of an old man getting destroyed. That ancient fool has no idea what he just signed up for. The Jade Dragon Community Center transformed into a boxing venue as evening approached, folding chairs arranged around a regulation ring donated by a sympathetic local gym. Media crews from 3 television stations positioned their equipment while curious onlookers filled every available space. the crowd swelling beyond the building's normal capacity. Charlie arrived through the back entrance at 6 o'clock, wearing a simple white terry cloth robe over plain boxing shorts and shoes. His face showed calm determination, but those who knew him well could see the weight of responsibility in his eyes as he acknowledged well-wishers with gentle nods. Tommy made his entrance 30 minutes later like a conquering hero, his golden robe emblazoned with lightning, catching the television lights as his entourage played entrance music from portable speakers. He played to the cameras, flexing and shadowboxing while his crew filmed everything for social media. The announcement began at 7 sharp, with the ring announcer's voice echoing through the packed center. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's exhibition. Match features, in the red corner, undefeated heavyweight champion Tommy "Lightning" Rodriguez. The crowd's response was polite but restrained, most attendees clearly favoring the local hero. And in the blue corner, representing the Jade Dragon Community Center, Charlie Chan. As Charlie removed his robe, revealing boxing shorts with Chan clearly written across the back waistband, an elderly Chinese man in the front row suddenly gripped his wife's arm. "Aya," Mr. Henry Leung gasped in Cantonese, then switched to English, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent crowd. "That's not just any Charlie Chan, that's Jackie Chan." The recognition spread through the audience like electricity. Phones emerged immediately as people scrambled to verify what they were seeing. Within minutes, #JackieChanBoxing exploded across social media platforms, reaching millions of viewers worldwide who couldn't believe the legendary action star was about to engage in a real fight. Tommy's confident smirk faltered as he realized the magnitude of what he had stumbled into. But Vince whispered urgently in his ear about contracts already signed and money already committed. At exactly 7 o'clock, as the opening bell rang, Tommy and Jackie met in the center for referee instructions. Tommy leaned close, his voice a threatening whisper. "Movie star or not, old man, you're about to get knocked into next week." Jackie simply nodded respectfully, the crowd's deafening cheers echoing through the building as the fight of a lifetime began. The opening bell rang like a gunshot through the packed community center. Tommy charged across the ring immediately, throwing a massive overhand right aimed at ending the fight within seconds, confident that raw power would overwhelm whatever movie magic Jackie possessed. But Jackie wasn't there. Using footwork that seemed to defy physics, Jackie made Tommy miss by mere inches, causing the younger fighter to stumble past him and nearly crash into the ropes. The crowd erupted as Tommy spun around, confusion replacing his initial confidence. "Stand still and fight," Tommy snarled, launching into a vicious combination: left hook, right cross, uppercut, each punch thrown with knockout intention. Jackie moved like water around stone, slipping and weaving with timing so precise it appeared choreographed. He didn't counterattack, instead focusing entirely on making Tommy look foolish while expending minimal energy. His defensive movements blended Wing Chun footwork with drunken boxing evasion and classical boxing technique. Tommy threw another wild haymaker that would have decapitated most men. Jackie ducked and shifted laterally, causing Tommy to punch empty air and spin himself completely around from his own momentum. The audience gasped at the artistry of perfect defensive timing. "What's wrong, champ?" someone shouted from the crowd. "Can't hit an old man?" Frustration crept into Tommy's technique as he began throwing wilder, more desperate combinations. Jackie used the boxing ring's space like a three-dimensional chessboard, constantly shifting angles and distances, making Tommy chase shadows while the cameras captured every embarrassing moment. When Tommy pressed him against the ropes, Jackie used their elasticity to slingshot around his opponent with fluid grace. When Tommy tried to corner him, Jackie seemed to simply vanish and reappear in the center of the ring, never appearing hurried or off balance. The children from Jackie's classes screamed with delight, while boxing purists in attendance began appreciating the masterclass in defensive technique unfolding before them. This wasn't just fighting, it was art. With 30 seconds left in the round, Tommy paused mid-combination, staring at Jackie in disbelief. His opponent responded with his trademark gentle smile and a small, respectful bow that only made Tommy angrier as the bell ended the most frustrating 3 minutes of his professional career. In Jackie's corner, Dr. Williams checked him thoroughly, and found no damage, not even elevated breathing. Across the ring, Tommy argued furiously with his team, sweat already pouring down his face despite landing 0 clean shots. "He's making me look like an amateur," Tommy hissed. "How is some old movie star doing this?" "Stick to the plan," Vince whispered urgently. "Wear him down, then use the special equipment." Round 2 began with Tommy attempting a more measured approach, but Jackie transformed the boxing match into an artistic demonstration that left the audience mesmerized. Using every element of the ring environment, Jackie incorporated the ropes, turnbuckles, and corner posts into his defensive strategy. When Tommy pressed him against the ropes, Jackie used their elasticity to redirect his opponent's momentum, sending him stumbling past like a charging bull. The ring towel from Jackie's corner became a tool for momentarily obscuring Tommy's vision, never held as a weapon but used to create angles for escape. Near the water bucket, Jackie stepped onto its edge for a split-second elevation that allowed him to leap gracefully over a low punch, landing behind Tommy while the crowd roared approval. Every movement served a purpose. Every defensive action created opportunities for the next evasion. "You have great power," Jackie said calmly between Tommy's attacks, "but power without control destroys everything, including yourself." These words enraged Tommy further, making him more reckless and predictable. He began telegraphing his punches, allowing Jackie to demonstrate techniques from multiple martial arts styles adapted perfectly for boxing ring constraints. Tai Chi's force redirection, Aikido's use of opponent's energy, Capoeira's fluid evasions, all flowed seamlessly together. Jackie threw perhaps 5 punches total during the round, all defensive parries or redirections, while Tommy launched over 50 power shots and connected with none cleanly. The contrast was stark. Youth and strength versus wisdom and precision, modern aggression versus timeless technique. The crowd was on its feet as the bell ended round 2, recognizing they were witnessing something extraordinary. Social media exploded with videos of Jackie's defensive mastery, but in Tommy's corner, Vince was preparing to escalate their scheme to dangerous new levels. Round 3 would be different. Much different. Round 3 opened with Tommy coming out, desperate and furious, knowing he was being humiliated in front of a global audience as social media buzz reached fever pitch. Vince's shouted instructions carried a new urgency. Whatever it takes. Tommy abandoned any pretense of clean boxing immediately. His first move was an obvious low blow that doubled Jackie over, the crowd booing as referee Marcus Webb conveniently looked away from the blatant foul. Instead of staying down or complaining, Jackie straightened up slowly and nodded to Tommy with complete understanding. Now he knew exactly what kind of fight this really was. For the first time since the opening bell, Jackie went on the offensive. His counterattack seemed to come from multiple dimensions simultaneously. A rising elbow block deflected Tommy's follow-up punch while flowing seamlessly into a straight punch to the solar plexus that lifted Tommy onto his toes. As Tommy dropped his guard instinctively, a perfectly timed uppercut caught him clean on the jaw. The entire combination took less than 2 seconds, but sent Tommy crashing to the canvas for the first time in his professional career. The community center erupted as the undefeated champion struggled to beat referee Webb's count. His legs unsteady as he rose at 8, that Tommy's expression showed pure shock. In 23 professional fights, no one had ever put him down. Blood trickled from his nose as he tried to process what had just happened. Jackie's immediate response confused everyone, including Tommy. He extended a helping hand to his fallen opponent, a gesture of respect and sportsmanship that made the crowd cheer even louder while making Tommy even angrier. "Get your hands off me," Tommy snarled, slapping away Jackie's offered assistance. The round continued with Tommy more cautious but visibly shaken. Jackie had demonstrated that he could end the fight whenever he chose, but his restraint and concern for his opponent's well-being only highlighted the difference in their characters. When the bell ended round 3, Tommy stumbled back to his corner with blood on his face for the first time in his career. The scorecards didn't matter. Everyone could see who was winning this fight. But in Tommy's corner, Vince was whispering about backup plans and special equipment, preparing to turn their humiliation into something much more dangerous. The 1-minute break between rounds felt like an eternity as the crowd buzzed with electric energy. Jackie sat calmly in his corner, while Dr. Williams found only minor redness on his torso from Tommy's illegal blow. Across the ring, a desperate transformation was taking place. Eddie Murphy worked quickly to remove Tommy's regular gloves, replacing them with the lead-weighted versions, while referee Webb positioned himself to block the crowd's view. The switch happened in seconds, practiced and rehearsed, but several sharp-eyed spectators noticed the unusual activity. Remember the story about his heart condition? Vince hissed in Tommy's ear. Target the chest and ribs. Make it look like natural consequences of an old man overexerting himself. Tommy flexed his hands in the new gloves, feeling their devastating weight. Each punch would now carry enough force to crack concrete, turning his already dangerous power into something potentially lethal. Meanwhile, the crowd's energy reached unprecedented levels as more people recognized Jackie's legendary status. Kevin, Wong, and Ashley Martinez led the children in rhythmic chants of Uncle Charlie. Uncle Charlie, while their parents filmed everything on their phones. Mr. Henry Leung stood up, addressing those around him with growing excitement. You don't understand what you're seeing. This man spent 50 years making impossible things look easy. In Hong Kong, we watched him fight armies of stuntmen and never get hurt. Tonight, he does it for real. News crews received urgent calls from their stations as the story went international. Hashtag Jackie Chan Boxing trended worldwide with millions of real-time viewers, turning a small community center fundraiser into global entertainment. Dr. Williams checked Jackie one final time, noting his remarkably steady heartbeat and clear breathing. You're in better condition than most men half your age, she observed quietly. Experience teaches patience, Jackie replied, his eyes tracking the suspicious activity in Tommy's corner. Something had changed in his opponent's demeanor, a new confidence that felt dangerous. The bell rang for round 4 at exactly 7:10 p.m. Tommy stood with renewed swagger, flexing his modified gloves and feeling their enhanced potential. Jackie rose with the same calm dignity, but his trained instincts detected the shift in atmosphere. As they met in the center of the ring, Jackie noticed Tommy's hands felt different during the glove touch. Heavier, more threatening. The real fight was about to begin. Round 4 began with Tommy approaching Jackie with dangerous new confidence. The weighted gloves giving his already devastating punches the force of sledgehammers. Jackie immediately sensed something different about his opponent's hand speed and power. Tommy's first jab whistled past Jackie's head with a sonic boom effect, the missed punch actually cracking the wooden ring post behind him. Jackie's eyes widened as he realized the gloves had been altered, but his decades of experience kicked in instantly. Using advanced Tai Chi principles, Jackie began redirecting Tommy's enhanced force rather than absorbing it. When Tommy threw a massive right cross, Jackie guided the momentum so efficiently that Tommy's own power sent him spinning off balance, his weighted fist punching a hole clean through the ring canvas. The crowd gasped as Tommy's destructive punches began tearing apart the ring itself. A wild haymaker missed Jackie but cracked one of the corner turnbuckles, sending splinters flying into the audience. Each missed shot carried enough force to demolish furniture, turning the boxing ring into a demolition zone. But the increased power meant even glancing contact was dangerous. When Tommy's left hook grazed Jackie's shoulder, the impact spun him completely around despite his perfect defensive positioning. For the first time in the fight, Jackie showed signs of being hurt. Your gloves seem heavier than before, my friend, Jackie observed. Dodging another devastating punch that left a crater in the canvas, Tommy grinned wickedly, his confidence returning as he felt his enhanced power taking effect. Just warming up, old man. Wait until I really connect. Referee Webb allowed increasingly. Blatant fouls, rabbit punches to the back of Jackie's head, holding and hitting, even an obvious attempt at a headbutt. Each illegal move was ignored while Webb positioned himself to give Tommy maximum advantage. Jackie adapted to the damaged ring environment with characteristic creativity, using the torn canvas and loose ropes created by Tommy's destructive assault as tools for misdirection and mobility. But the accumulated damage from several glancing blows with the weighted gloves was beginning to show as round 4 ended. Jackie moved more carefully for the first time, blood trickling from a cut above his left eye where one of Tommy's enhanced punches had found its mark. Round 5 began with Jackie bloodied but far from beaten. Despite facing illegally enhanced opposition, his demeanor shifted from purely defensive to something more instructional, as if he had decided to transform this corruption into a teaching opportunity. "This is Wing Chun," Jackie announced calmly to the crowd as he trapped Tommy's arms and delivered precise chain punches to the body, each strike perfectly placed to cause maximum effect with minimal force. Tommy staggered backward, confused by Jackie's sudden change in tactics and his educational commentary. "This is drunken boxing," Jackie continued, swaying unpredictably to make Tommy's weighted punches miss wildly, while landing seemingly impossible counterstrikes that appeared to come from nowhere. His movements became fluid and deceptive, making Tommy look clumsy despite his enhanced power. The audience became mesmerized as Jackie transformed the fight into an impromptu martial arts exhibition. "This is Northern Shaolin," he explained, using long-range kicks adapted for boxing rules, keeping Tommy at distance with superior reach and flexibility. Even while being fouled repeatedly, Jackie maintained his teaching tone, speaking directly to Tommy and the watching millions about the philosophy behind each technique. "You see, power without wisdom destroys randomly. Wisdom with purpose protects precisely." Jackie demonstrated traditional weapons techniques with empty hands. Staff work became his jab combinations, sword techniques became his defensive slicing. Motions and even nunchaku patterns appeared in his fluid combinations. The crowd realized they were receiving a once-in-a-lifetime martial arts seminar from a living legend. Children in the audience stopped crying and began taking notes, watching their teacher turn a brutal assault into an educational masterpiece. Parents filmed every moment, understanding they were witnessing history, but the physical toll was mounting. Fighting an enhanced opponent while maintaining his teaching demeanor required enormous energy and concentration. Blood now flowed from cuts above both eyes, and Jackie's breathing became slightly labored. Tommy's frustration grew as his enhanced power seemed meaningless against Jackie's superior technique and ring intelligence. Every devastating punch was turned into a lesson. Every illegal move was countered with wisdom. As round 5 concluded, Jackie had given a master class in martial arts adaptation, but the cost was evident in his visibly fatigued state for the first time in the fight. Round 6 erupted with Tommy abandoning all pretense of boxing as his frustration boiled over. He began fighting like a street brawler, throwing wild, vicious combinations with the weighted gloves while referee Webb ignored every obvious foul. Jackie found himself genuinely in danger as Tommy cornered him against the ropes and unleashed a barrage of loaded glove punches to the body and head. Unable to fully escape the assault, Jackie was forced to absorb several partial shots that would have knocked out most heavyweight contenders. The community center fell silent as Jackie's legs wobbled for the first time, blood now streaming from cuts above both eyes and a gash on his cheek. His perfect defensive posture began to crack under the enhanced assault. Tommy sensed victory approaching and became even more vicious, throwing combinations that resembled assault more than boxing. His weighted punches crashed into Jackie's guard with bone-crushing force, each impact sending shock waves through the legendary fighter's body. One devastating uppercut, with the loaded gloves, lifted Jackie completely off his feet, sending him crashing into the corner turnbuckle with sickening impact. As Jackie slid down the ropes, using them for support, the crowd gasped in horror. Children from Jackie's classes began crying while adults shouted for the fight to be stopped. Only referee Webb's corruption kept the massacre continuing, his slow count giving Tommy time to position himself for a finishing blow. Tommy raised his arms in premature celebration, playing to his corner's cameras while Jackie struggled to rise. The undefeated champion had never looked more dominant, his enhanced power finally overcoming Jackie's defensive mastery. "Get up so I can knock you down again," Tommy taunted, bouncing on his toes as Jackie used the ropes to pull himself upright. Dr. Williams attempted to enter the ring to check on Jackie, but Webb blocked her access, claiming the round wasn't finished. Jackie's face was a mask of blood and determination as he found his footing. As round 6 mercifully ended, Jackie barely made it back to his corner under his own power. Dr. Williams pleaded desperately with him to stop the fight, but Jackie looked at the terrified faces of his students and shook his head. Everyone believed they were about to witness the final round of a legend's destruction. Round 7 began with Jackie rising from his stool with apparent difficulty, his face a canvas of blood and bruises. Tommy bounced confidently across the ring, convinced he was moments away from delivering the knockout blow that would make him a viral sensation. The crowd held its breath as Tommy charged forward, throwing the most vicious punch of his career, a loaded glove right hand aimed directly at Jackie's head with enough force to cause permanent damage. But Jackie's apparent weakness had been partially strategic. Throughout 6 rounds, he had been studying Tommy's patterns, timing his combinations, waiting for this exact moment when overconfidence would make his opponent vulnerable. As Tommy's knockout punch approached, Jackie executed a counter that turned the young fighter's enhanced power completely against him. Grabbing the top rope, Jackie pulled himself sideways while sweeping Tommy's legs with perfect timing. Tommy's momentum, combined with the weight of his illegal gloves, sent him flipping completely over the top rope in a spectacular crash that shook the entire building. The impact was devastating. Tommy landed hard among his own corner team, who scrambled to avoid the falling fighter. Most importantly, the violent crash split open both of his loaded gloves, spilling lead shot across the floor in full view of the stunned crowd and cameras. Lead pellets scattered like deadly confetti across the canvas as the truth became undeniable. Spectators immediately understood what had been happening, their shocked silence transforming into angry shouts of "cheaters" and "fix." News cameras zoomed in on the incriminating evidence, while dozens of phone cameras recorded everything. Referee Webb desperately tried to kick the lead shot away, but the damage was done. The corruption was exposed for the world to see. Tommy lay motionless outside the ring, knocked unconscious by his own enhanced power being turned against him. Vince and Eddie rushed to revive him while trying to hide the evidence of their cheating scheme. With the corruption exposed and Tommy unable to continue, Webb had no choice but to rule the fight a no contest. The result was officially invalid. Due to illegal equipment, AS paramedics attended to the unconscious Tommy and police officers began collecting scattered lead shot as evidence. Jackie stood alone in the ring. Despite surviving an attempted assault and exposing the corruption, the no contest ruling meant the community center would receive no donation and still face closure. Victory had turned to ashes. The aftermath unfolded like a carefully orchestrated legal ambush. Tommy regained consciousness 10 minutes after his spectacular fall, his team immediately surrounding him to prevent questions about the scattered lead shot littering the ring. Jackie sat on the ring apron, blood still trickling from his cuts, as Dr. Williams treated his wounds with trembling hands. "This is criminal assault," she whispered angrily. "Those gloves could have killed you." But Vince Castellano had prepared for this moment. Despite being caught red-handed, he emerged from the chaos with a team of expensive lawyers who began issuing cease and desist orders to anyone filming the evidence. Their legal jargon created an immediate smokescreen of confusion. "My client was as much a victim as Mr. Chan," Vince announced to the assembled media, his gold teeth flashing under the television lights. The weighted gloves were training equipment accidentally mixed in with regulation gear. This was an unfortunate mistake, not intentional cheating. The lawyers moved swiftly through the crowd, intimidating witnesses and demanding phones be surrendered. Several elderly community members, frightened by the legal threats, reluctantly deleted their videos of the lead shot evidence. Referee Webb had already vanished from the scene, his corruption fee well earned as police collected what remained of the physical evidence. Without his testimony, building a criminal case would prove difficult. Most devastatingly, Vince refused to honor the original wager. Since the fight was ruled a no contest, nobody won, he declared smugly. Therefore, no donation is owed to anyone. Developer Richard Sterling materialized with ominous timing, carrying paperwork that showed the community center's lease expiring in exactly 30 days. Without the promised $100,000, they couldn't afford the massive rent increase. That would force them to sell. The children surrounded Jackie with confused tears, not understanding how their hero's moral victory had become practical defeat. Kevin Wong tugged on Jackie's shirt with desperate hope. "You won, Uncle Charlie. Everyone saw you win." Jackie knelt painfully to the boy's level, his voice gentle despite his exhaustion. "Sometimes winning and succeeding are different things, Kevin, but we never stop trying to do what's right." As the community center emptied, Jackie remained alone in the damaged ring, whispering an apology to Linda's memory. Sunday morning arrived gray and drizzling as Detective Maria Santos processed. The crime scene that had once been a boxing ring. Lead shots still glittered in the corners where Vince's lawyers couldn't reach, each pellet representing evidence of a conspiracy that went far beyond a simple fight. Santos had grown up watching Jackie's movies with her father, a San Francisco longshoreman who taught her that heroes were real people who chose to do right when it mattered most. Now she was determined to ensure justice for her childhood idol. Lab analysis confirms approximately 2 pounds of lead shot per glove, her partner reported, bagging evidence with methodical precision. That's enough weight to turn any punch into a potentially lethal weapon. Santos interviewed community members throughout the morning, building a comprehensive picture of the corruption scheme. Mrs. Chun provided security footage from her restaurant showing suspicious meetings between Vince and unknown associates. Mr. Martinez had recorded audio of Vince's team discussing their special arrangements. While waiting for the fight to begin, the investigation revealed patterns stretching across multiple cities where similar schemes had been used to acquire valuable community properties. Financial records showed payments from Sterling Development to Vince's shell companies, creating a paper trail of real estate fraud disguised as athletic promotion. Jackie proved to be an ideal witness. His detailed observations delivered with characteristic humility and genuine concern for Tommy's well-being despite everything that had happened. The young man is not evil, Jackie insisted. He was used by people who corrupted his strength for their own gain. Meanwhile, social media buzz continued exploding globally. Hashtag Justice for Jackie reached 50 million mentions as fans worldwide expressed outrage at the corruption. Hong Kong newspapers called the incident an attack on our beloved son, while martial arts schools across 5 continents organized solidarity demonstrations. The breakthrough came Sunday afternoon when Santos received an anonymous tip from a conscience-stricken caller who provided recordings of Vince's planning sessions. The voice was disguised, but audio analysis would later confirm it belonged to Big Eddie Murphy, whose loyalty finally cracked under the weight of witnessing attempted murder disguised as sport. Detective Santos, the caller whispered, I got recordings of everything. Meetings, payments, the whole conspiracy. That old man deserves justice. By evening, Santos had enough evidence to begin building federal cases for assault, fraud, and racketeering. Monday morning found 15 children gathered around Kevin Wong's kitchen table, their faces set with determination that would have made Jackie proud. Led by Kevin and Ashley Martinez, they represented the pure courage their teacher had instilled in them. Uncle Charlie taught us to stand up for what's right, Ashley declared, her 12-year-old voice carrying surprising authority. Those bullies think they can steal our center, but they don't know what we learned about never giving up. Using Kevin's older brother's video equipment, they created a documentary that would change everything. The children interviewed each other about Jackie's impact on their lives, their innocent honesty cutting through legal complications to reveal simple truth. Before Uncle Charlie, I was scared of everything, little Danny Park admitted to the camera. He taught me that being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means doing what's right even when you are scared. Ashley had secretly filmed Tommy's corner during the glove change, her phone capturing clear footage of the illegal equipment switch. Kevin provided commentary about Jackie's lessons on respect and protecting those weaker than yourself, contrasting these values with Tommy's behavior. The children revealed additional evidence they had observed during the fight. Danny had noticed referee Webb's suspicious positioning throughout the match, while several older students had recorded audio of Vince's whispered instructions between rounds. Their video went viral within hours of being posted. Unlike professional media coverage, the children's authentic emotion and clear articulation of values created a narrative more powerful than any PR campaign could achieve. They organized a global hashtag campaign, hashtag Save Jackie Center. Within 24 hours, their message reached 100 million people. Hong Kong cinema stars made solidarity videos. Former boxing champions who respected Jackie's crossover appeal spoke out against the corruption. Martial arts schools worldwide began organizing fundraisers. Most importantly, the children's video inspired others to come forward with evidence. Witnesses who had been intimidated by Vince's lawyers found courage in the children's example, providing testimony and footage that strengthened Detective Santos's investigation. But Vince's legal team retaliated swiftly, threatening to sue the families for defamation. Parents received registered letters demanding their children stop making false accusations or face financial ruin through legal action. The battle for truth was far from over. Tuesday morning found Tommy Rodriguez alone in his luxury hotel suite, watching the children's video for the dozenth time. His career lay in ruins around him, sponsors dropping contracts, media condemning his behavior, fans turning away in disgust. For the first time in his life, he was seeing himself through others' eyes. The video forced him to confront uncomfortable truths. There he was, bullying children and mocking an elderly teacher. There was Jackie, showing restraint and wisdom while being assaulted with illegal weapons. The contrast was devastating to his self-image. Tommy realized his entire identity had been built on false superiority. Jackie's restraint during the fight wasn't weakness, but strength he had never understood. Every defensive move had been a choice to protect rather than destroy. Every patient word an attempt to teach rather than humiliate. Against Vince's explicit orders to avoid all contact with Jackie, Tommy drove to Chinatown at 9 o'clock, his hands shaking as he parked outside the community center. He found Jackie quietly cleaning up the damaged facility, preparing it for closure while maintaining its dignity until the end. "I don't know how to apologize for what I did," Tommy began awkwardly, his usual arrogance replaced by genuine remorse. Jackie looked up from sweeping scattered debris, his face still showing bruises from their fight. Instead of anger, his expression held something Tommy had never experienced before: compassion for an enemy. "Apology is just words," Jackie said gently. "Fix comes from action, not words. Show through your choices who you wish to become." Tommy knelt to help gather broken equipment, his powerful hands surprisingly gentle with the damaged items. "Will you teach me? I mean, really teach me. Not just fighting techniques, but whatever it is you have that I don't." Jackie studied the young man carefully, seeing past the arrogance to the lost soul underneath. "True strength protects others. Can you learn to use your power for something besides yourself?" For the next 4 hours, Jackie began showing Tommy basic martial arts principles, not as fighting techniques, but as life philosophy. Balance, respect, using strength to lift others rather than tear them down. Their conversation was interrupted at 2 o'clock by the arrival of Vince and 6 threatening men who had come to ensure Tommy's continued cooperation with their version of events. "Time to go, champ," Vince growled. "We got lawyers to meet and stories to coordinate." But Tommy stood beside Jackie instead of following his former mentor. His choice made clear that Vince's face twisted with rage as Tommy refused to move from Jackie's side. The 6 men flanking him weren't professional fighters, but street thugs hired to send a clear message about the consequences of betraying Vince Castellano's organization. "You think you can play house with this old fool and just walk away from our arrangement?" Vince snarled, his usual smooth demeanor cracking to reveal the predator underneath. "Nobody crosses me without paying the price." The confrontation erupted when the thugs attacked during the community center's after-school program, putting innocent children at immediate risk. This forced Jackie into action despite his reluctance to fight, his protective instincts overriding everything else as kids screamed and scattered. "Get the children out," Jackie called to Tommy while intercepting the first attacker with fluid precision. The real fight began as Jackie demonstrated why he was a legend, transforming the community center into an elaborate action sequence. Folding chairs became shields, and striking weapons in his hands, their lightweight frames perfect for his defensive style. A mop handle became a staff, its reach advantage allowing him to keep multiple attackers at bay. Tommy learned in real time what Jackie meant about channeling power constructively. Instead of throwing wild punches, he followed Jackie's lead, using his strength to move obstacles that created tactical advantages and protect escape routes for the frightened children. Like this, Jackie instructed mid-combat, showing Tommy how to redirect an attacker's momentum rather than meeting force with force. Use their energy against them. The fight showcased Jackie's legendary environmental awareness as everyday objects became weapons of defense. A buffet table became a springboard for his acrobatic attacks. The serving trays became shields, and even the community center's Chinese decorations provided creative solutions to tactical problems. Tommy discovered the difference between fighting for dominance and fighting for protection. Each move Jackie made served to neutralize threats while minimizing harm, turning combat into a form of problem-solving rather than destruction. But the real danger came when the thugs threatened the children directly, forcing both men to escalate their response while keeping innocent lives safe. The battle spilled toward the exit as Jackie and Tommy worked together to lead the attackers away from the kids, setting up their final confrontation. The fight exploded into Portsmouth Square as Jackie and Tommy led the six thugs away from the community center's terrified children. The historic heart of Chinatown provided the perfect stage for Jackie's environmental mastery, while Tommy learned to adapt his boxing techniques to real combat. Jackie moved through the square like he owned every inch of it, using park benches as vaulting platforms and springboards for aerial attacks. The ancient playground equipment became weapons in his hands: swing chains for trapping, slide railings for leverage, even the sandbox sand for blinding opponents. Tommy followed Jackie's lead with growing confidence, his raw power finally channeled into protective purpose. When one thug grabbed a piece of broken concrete, Tommy intercepted him with a perfectly timed combination that sent the weapon flying harmlessly away. "See how we work together?" Jackie called out while using the famous dragon statue as a pivot point for a spectacular spinning kick that dropped two attackers simultaneously. "Your strength, my experience, much better than fighting alone." The battle became a masterclass in teamwork as Tommy's boxing combinations flowed seamlessly into Jackie's martial arts techniques. When Jackie needed space, Tommy's powerful presence cleared it. When Tommy was overwhelmed, Jackie's precise strikes created openings. Chinatown residents initially fled in fear, but as they realized Jackie and Tommy were protecting their neighborhood from outside threats, they began cheering from windows and doorways. Some even helped by calling out warnings about approaching attackers. Jackie's signature comedic moments emerged naturally, accidentally defeating opponents while trying to avoid them, using everyday objects in unexpected ways, maintaining his famous "I don't want trouble" demeanor even while systematically dismantling the opposition. The final sequence showcased both fighters at their peak. Jackie's wisdom guided Tommy's power in perfect synchronization, creating a demonstration of how different strengths could complement each other when united by common purpose. One by one, the thugs fell to their combined assault, each defeat a lesson in the superiority of skill and teamwork over brute intimidation. The last attacker went down when Tommy's distraction allowed Jackie to execute a perfectly timed pressure point strike. As police sirens approached, Vince attempted to flee through the crowd but ran directly into Detective Santos, who had been tracking his movements as part of her ongoing investigation. Justice was finally closing in. Detective Santos snapped handcuffs on Vince Castellano with visible satisfaction as police officers rounded up his remaining associates throughout Portsmouth Square. The evidence she had gathered over 3 days of intensive investigation provided enough proof to charge the entire conspiracy. "Vincent Castellano, you're under arrest for assault with a deadly weapon, conspiracy to commit fraud, and racketeering," Santos announced, reading his rights while news cameras captured every moment. Tommy stepped forward voluntarily, his transformation complete as he provided crucial testimony against his former promoter. "I have recordings of our planning sessions," he announced to the assembled media. "Every meeting, every illegal scheme, every plan to hurt that good man." The recordings Tommy revealed proved devastating to Vince's defense. Audio files captured discussions about the loaded gloves, payments to corrupt officials, and plans to use violence against community members who opposed their real estate schemes. Corrupt referee Marcus Webb was arrested at San Francisco International Airport, attempting to board a flight to Mexico with a suitcase full of cash. His arrest photos showed a man who knew his career in fight fixing was permanently over. Developer Richard Sterling faced the most serious charges as FBI agents executed search warrants at his office. Years of similar schemes across multiple cities came to light, revealing a pattern of using sports events to facilitate illegal land acquisitions. But the most dramatic moment came when Tommy announced his decision to donate his entire purse from his next championship fight, $2.5 million, to the J Dragon Community Center. "I can't undo what I did," Tommy told the crowd of reporters and community members. "But I can make sure this place not only survives but thrives. Mr. Chan taught me that real champions lift others up, and that's what I intend to do for the rest of my career." Jackie's response demonstrated the grace that had made him beloved worldwide. Rather than celebrating his vindication, He expressed concern for Tommy's well-being and gratitude for his transformation. "This young man chose to become better," Jackie said simply. "That takes more courage than any fight in a ring." The legal victory was complete, but more importantly, the moral victory had transformed an enemy into an ally. As the last arrests were made and the media circus began to calm, Jackie and Tommy sat quietly on a park bench, discussing Tommy's request to continue training and Jackie's philosophy of martial arts. 6 months later, the Jade Dragon Community Center had been transformed into something beyond Jackie and Linda's original dreams. Tommy's donation had funded complete renovation and expansion, creating both traditional martial arts spaces and a modern boxing program that drew students from across the city. Saturday morning found the center bustling with activity as children, aged 6 to 16, trained alongside adults in an integrated program that blended boxing technique with martial arts philosophy. Tommy worked patiently with a particularly difficult 8-year-old who reminded everyone of his former arrogance. "Remember, Marcus," Tommy said gently, adjusting the boy's stance. "Power means nothing without control. Let me show you how Uncle Charlie taught me to channel strength into protection." Jackie watched from across the room with quiet satisfaction, as his former enemy demonstrated the patience and wisdom he had once lacked. The transformation was complete. Tommy had become the kind of mentor Jackie had always hoped to create. The community center had become a pilgrimage site for martial arts fans worldwide, but its real success was measured in the lives it changed. Daily, children who had been bullied learned confidence, while others who might have become bullies learned respect and restraint. International visitors came regularly to study their integrated teaching methods, but the focus remained on serving the local community. The waiting list for classes stretched months ahead, with families traveling from across the Bay Area to enroll their children. Evening classes brought together former gang members learning discipline, elderly residents maintaining health and flexibility, and everyone in between discovering that age was no barrier to growth and improvement. The final scene unfolded as the center prepared to close for the day. Jackie and Tommy performed their daily joint training session, a beautiful demonstration of how different fighting styles could work in harmony when guided by shared principles. Through the windows, new students could be seen arriving for Monday's classes, drawn by the story of the legendary fighter who proved that the greatest victories came not from defeating others, but from helping them become their best selves. Jackie looked at Linda's photograph, now surrounded by pictures of hundreds of students whose lives had been touched by their shared vision. He smiled, knowing that what they had built together had grown beyond their wildest dreams. "Thank you for showing me the way back," Tommy said quietly as they finished their session. "You found your own way," Jackie replied. "I just helped you remember it was there." The legend lived on, not in movie theaters, but in the daily choice to use strength for protection, wisdom for teaching, and courage for standing up to those who would harm the innocent. If you liked the story, please watch another story on our channel and subscribe to the channel.